It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen, podcast edition. It's a show where tattoo artists and body piercers answer a specific question at length about body art. So, let's stick around for the current episode. This is episode number 19, Tattoo Styles. What are they? What are tattoo styles? What are the different styles? And maybe I should explain this to people that are new to tattooing. Just like any art form, like if you're painting, there's abstract, there is romantic, there's impressionism, etc. With tattooing, there's various different styles, and part of it's technique and method, but part of it's a lot more. So why don't you guys take one each or something? And we'll put up examples of the photos.
It's a big question, I think, for sure, and it's ever evolving. So what we say today isn't going to
necessarily be
it's not going to be 100% all of the answer. In a couple of years we'll have most of it covered, because there will be new styles out there eventually soon.
Just like painting,
there's always evolving things. But
I think the question would be not so much like what are all the styles, but maybe like some of the main styles and how some artists just don't do them. Some artists only specialize in certain ones, some are more rounded, and what ways that you might be able to recognize those styles in the art, so then you can recognize that style in the artist, and it might make it easier for you to, get exactly what you're wanting. And learning the terminology of those different styles. A lot of times when I'm talking to a client and they'll show me a bunch of pictures, and there might be 3 or 4 different styles of tattoos in there. So I'll have to ask them, now, what do you like about this picture? Are you liking the line weight? Do you like the contrast in it? Or what is it about it that you like? Because they're a lot of times they're not seeing that. They're seeing what's in the tattoo. They're not really seeing what went into how it happened.
So many different styles of even just the shadings. There's your soft shading versus your stippling, your pointillisms and things like that, and just heavy line weights and things like that. And exactly get the same thing. Is that a lot of clients will sit down and show me 2 or 3 pieces, and I'm like, all right, same thing. What is it you like about these pieces? And is it the style or the particular theme of them and things like that?
I think one thing that people need to pay attention to, because people will say, well, do you do this style? Like, do you do 3D? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, all 3D is a shadow. It's just, it's not like, I've got a 3D machine that can do that. Or, I think what people probably need to, or clients need to do, is look at the person's body of work. If overall the tattoos look like tattoos you like, that's probably a good start. But if you're looking at these tattoos and you really don't see anything that looks anywhere near what you're feeling, well, that's probably not a good place to start. Some artists, especially now, I'm noticing they're getting more pigeonholed, or they're pigeonholing themselves. They're like, I want to be the guy who does eyeballs with just red and dots. That's the guy I want to be. And every time somebody sees an eye made with red dots, they'll know it's me. And so they spend their life convincing people that they want an eyeball made out of red dots. And sometimes there's enough people that think that's dumb or squirrely enough, they want to get in on it, they got a little spot, okay, you can do one. Look, I got one of those eyeballs that are made out of red dots. Oh, wow, neat, that's fucking great. And that's what makes that artist complete. Like, I've made it. I'm the guy that does eyeballs with red dots. Oh my God, I've got a page on the internet. And other people get into it because they love to tattoo. They want to be able to do anything they possibly can. They want to be able to do fine line tattoos. They want to do bold tattoos. They want to do old school. They want to do new school. They want to do neo-traditional. They want to do black and gray. They want to do photorealistic. They want to do it all because they just love doing it. And when they see something done on the skin, they want to go, man, I want to be able to do that. That's amazing. So those people more often are going to be more excited about your weird or quirky or unusual or maybe odd idea, because they're into it all. They like to do it because they just love what they do. Then there's other guys that they do it because they want to be this guy. They want to be that dude. They want to be this famous thing, or this guy that invented the Volkswagen. Well, that's great. That's fucking awesome, but only go to that guy if you want the Volkswagen. And you can look at someone's art a lot of times on their Pinterest or portfolios, whatever, and they're going to show you what they like to do. A lot of times that doesn't mean that they can't do other stuff, but that's kind of like what they really like to do. And other times you'll look at someone's portfolio and it is, you know, the same traditional flash sheet, you know, over and over and over again. So being aware that there are some artists that really are kind of set in this, no, this is my niche right here. All that stuff is stupid, it's a waste of time, it looks dumb, I have no interest in doing that on anyone because every time I see it on someone, I don't like it, and I ain't doing it. Then there's the guy that won't do it all.
Yeah.
Because that's what he loves. So, you know, look for that. First of all, look, I think, for the work. You know, does it have the look on the skin you like? Is it heavy enough? Is it packed enough? Is it packed too much? Or can you know, because everybody's like, you'll have those people that'll be like, I don't want to see any skin when we're done. I don't want you skipping anything on me, pal. I want my arm, I want a sleeve, and I don't want any of this stupid skin showing. And other people will be like, yeah, you know, I don't want it super packed in. I kind of want to see some skin flowing through, and I want to, you know, I don't want it to look like, you know, I'm just like weighed down with this ink. So look at the person that's doing the tattoos, and see if overall that kind of feel works for you. And then look at the stuff that's appealing to you. Is it kind of that fine line stuff that looks a little lighter on the skin, looks like more kind of, you know, was kind of born there? Or does it look like, you know, something was fucking ironed onto the guy and that's what really appeals to you? And then look at the work. If you know, 3D isn't just something that, it's not a style. You know, there's I think why it's jumping out to a lot of people, because one, photo manipulation on the internet's able to make your tattoos look so saturated and so dynamic that it's really making those 3D styles really, really pop. And so people are like, whoa, that's amazing. Well, yeah, it is amazing. You know what? You know what else is amazing? Movies with CGI. That's fucking amazing. But you're not going to run around town and find a Godzilla. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You know? Fuck, yes it does. Look. Yes, though. So you kind of get that same era. Plus, you've got people pushing the boundaries. And
That's a good way.
And not even listening to what, you know, the world says can't be done. They're just going to fucking do it. And if they can get it even close and then manipulate a little bit with a fucking photo to say, look what I did, then they're going to do it.
Yeah, you can do a lot with contrast and shadow and everything else in Photoshop and get something that is flat as a pancake, certainly look dramatic and outgoing.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, a lot of your cell phones,
one button,
the iPad,
it does it too.
Comes with several filters, and I make my tattoos look way better than they need to, and I refuse to use them because I'm like, man, that just doesn't even make me feel comfortable about it.
Yeah, it's this.
So like, man, it changes it, takes away.
There's this boundary where, well, if you just put a naked photo up, which I do a lot, every now and then on a black and gray or something that I'm not hiding necessarily, just kind of makes the photo look cool. I'll do that, but most of the time I post naked pictures, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, well, this tattoo, in my opinion, is just as nice as this tattoo, but at first glance, from an untrained eye, you're going to like that other tattoo because the photo is cleaned up, and it just takes, you know, just softens those little bit of rough edges. But to me, I want people to have an honest representation of my work, so when they come in, they don't go, well, that doesn't look like your work.
Right.
Oh, that doesn't look like it at all. Look at the picture on the internet. That looks fucking dope. That doesn't look... So...
It's the fine dining perception. The idea that you can... the presentation of how it's presented...
The McDonald's menu versus the burger.
You can make, you know, soy burgers with... American cheese slices on it with canned gravy. It tastes fantastic because you're getting such great service and there's a white tablecloth. It's all illusion.
Right.
It's kind of like going to the airport. It's all about the theater of security than the actual security.
Right.
It's the idea that, oh, everybody's getting searched. Everybody's feet are getting checked. That doesn't do anything.
But help you there.
It makes people think they're safer.
Right.
So why don't we go through some of the basic styles? Of course, there's fine line.
Right. Which was really popular in like the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, through the 80s, really big. That's when you had a lot of your wizards and dragons and castles and, just all those old school, a lot of the bikery stuff back then, you know, it was all fine line. That's using just one single needle for the line.
And that's like, probably a lot of it dates back, we talked about this as recently, is back to Heavy Metal Magazine and some of the artists that are doing stuff in there.
Like Boris Vallejo and all those guys, the real hyper but photorealistic light line, not as illustrated looking, more, you know, that realistic style was huge, not only in tattooing but art, and of course tattoos reflect art, and now art reflecting tattoos.
Oil and airbrushing, I think, is what he did a lot of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which kind of goes back to pen art or pinup art, which was done basically in the same way.
Right.
And then of course we get into black and gray, which is more of a pencil drawing. I've always kind of explained it.
Yeah, well, it can be. See, and that's the thing. Black and gray, you can do an old school tattoo black and gray, and you can line it with a 14 round, and you can shade it with the same ink you just you just lined it with. That's black and gray.
Yeah.
Or you could do, you could redo the Last Supper across someone's back, only using a bug pin 7 rounded mag the entire time, getting every eyelash and every glint and every eyeball and every stitch and every napkin. That's black and gray. So you could do a fine line black and gray piece, or you could do an old school black and gray piece, or something like that. So I would say black and gray is more of a type, not a style.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just
Right?
pick whatever your style is and decide if
Like
you want it to be
color and
or
black
not.
and gray are kind of your two parents,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
exactly.
And then you've got all these color styles, and you've got all these black and gray styles.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, but like old school, typically done with a 7, at very least a 5, but like an 8 round or something like that. Very bold lines, something that's those lines are gonna be there and a little bigger
Yep.
when you die.
And usually calls back to more of the cartoony, old school flash
50s,
Americana,
40s,
sailor tattooed
You-
imagery.
Stuff you saw in your great grandpa, probably if you're old like me, maybe your grandpa. But yeah, stuff like that. The real rudimentary, simple. They had 4 colors, I think, and they were just very basic. And some people really love that style, and they still stick to it. They kind of stick to those roots of tattooing. Yeah, it's still really popular, but it kind of comes and goes.
Yeah. And then I guess new school.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about bold.
Yeah.
Which is generally kind of almost a graffiti style tattoo.
That became big mid 90s into the early
2000s.
2000s was huge, and it would be a lot of times taking a regular image and just twisting it up, putting kind of a street art or kind of a exaggerated feel to it.
That was about when I started coming into tattooing. It was early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And what I could tell from the old school, from the new school, the way it was for me was just a lot of those traditional ideas taken and
warped.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your shading got a little heavier gradients or better gradients because color started getting bigger and better.
Yeah. Saturation started getting a little bit heavier.
Exactly. But it was a lot of your same traditional ideas just made into a newer, funner flash style than some of the older ideas were. So.
And because the technology had expanded, as we talked about with Sherry in our last couple episodes. If you haven't watched them yet,
Watch those Sherry episodes. There's
3 of them. The inks improved, so you got brighter
Right.
colors and colors that
You
last
were able to do
longer.
more on the skin.
Yes.
And the technology improved a little bit in the needles too, so you're not damaging the skin as much.
Yep.
Your pigments are better, so you're not damaging the skin as much because you're not having to poke as many holes as much to get the pigment in there, so you're able to do more in the skin.
Yep.
So yeah,
So you can get those bright
being
oranges and pinks and greens.
and you can go back in, like you can go in and you can blast in a beautiful saturated, say, orange in the skin, and now you can say go to a yellow and go right back over that orange or the edge of that orange and saturate just as hard and as good as you did the first time, and that fucker is still hung under a week. Where before, to get that good saturation with the older coil machines and the older like Stay Glow pigments, you'd be lucky to get that nice and good saturation of that orange period. But then to come back and onto that edge into that orange and push something else,
Yep.
So yeah, it really made it a lot harder to do as much as we can now. So I think the better that's made some of these these styles even possible,
Right.
because of that, I think. But yeah,
And somebody actually going out and doing it.
Yeah,
Saying,
like I said,
you can do this. It will last. Because there was a lot of, I remember when I was first getting tattooed by Sherry, and every time anybody saw it, that was in the know, oh, that's single needle stuff. It won't last.
Right.
It's going to look like crap in 6 months, and blah, 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 or it's going to fall out.
Yeah.
And there's been some blurring because I tend to hang my arm out the window when I'm driving. But for the most part, they're 20 years old, and they're still visible. You still know what they are, and they could probably use a little work here and there. But for the
and one argument I heard a long time ago from, I think, Jack Rudier, one of the fine line guys, he was like, you can always make a thin line thicker, but you can't make a thick line thin.
No.
Mhm.
So there's that. whether that's, you know.
Thing to remember.
And kind of going into the process, it's kind of like if you took a paintbrush that's this wide and tried to draw something, which would be like an 8 round.
Right.
And then if you take a single needle, it'd be like taking a little fine, like what you would use for watercolors or so forth.
Yeah.
In drawing with that, so you can get more detail into smaller spaces.
Yep. And depending on the style you're doing, that might be a consideration or not. Like if you're doing old school, well, I don't need that little tiny thing. It'll take me 10 times as long.
Yeah.
I need it. I need it there. I'm not going to go in and do the eyelashes. I'm going to do a fucking line for the top. I'm going to do a for the eye. Not all the other stuff. So having all these different options for needles and machines, and now that the needles are made by either a machine or a 14-year-old Korean girl strapped to a chair, whatever, they're usually really good and consistent, and that helps a lot too. But then that goes into neo-traditional, which is taking traditional and kind of a new school element and more making them occupy the same space at the same time. It's not so much taking elements and kind of combining them, it's keeping those elements and kind of putting them almost in the same tattoo at the same time.
Right.
And there's gray area there. Some people might look at something as neo-traditional that someone might look at as, slightly something different. But in the way I see it, if there's a line drawn there, it's kind of staying true to those two styles, but finding a way that they're working together in the same tattoo, more than just kind of twisting it and making it look like it was spray painted on the wall with a spray can.
Right.
But as far as styles, like, do you guys do 3D or whatever like that? Don't ask that.
If they're a well-rounded artist.
If a tattoo artist can't do that, they're still an apprentice. I mean, it's shadowing. Okay.
Look at their portfolio.
Yeah.
See if they've got some examples of it.
Yep.
Or if there are anything close to examples of it.
Right. Yeah, and I think maybe partially is some, like me, well, I don't look at that as like, wow, look, I did a shadow under that, man. People got to see it. It's like, I did that. It's not going to focus on it.
See if he's got the skills that you think he could do it.
Right.
It became really popular, it seemed like, when, I can't remember which artist it was doing all those universal monster tattoos. Like the Frankensteins and, I can't think of his name. Another style that, of course, is predominant is tribal.
Yeah, it comes back, and it's still kind of there, but not like it was. That was real big when when new school was coming in. Tribal was everywhere, and you really don't do tribal per se hardly at all anymore. I think I've done one tribal piece last.
We've been doing some more tribal cover-ups here recently, actually.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Covering up the tribal, which is a tough thing to do in itself, and probably another episode for another day.
Yeah.
I think it has moved more from being a foreground tattoo into more of a background filler to a degree.
If anything, I think the tribal has moved more into the Polynesian style tribal. I think the same type of person that would like tribal likes the Polynesian tribal. It's more of a pattern, it's more of pinstriping or a flame job on your car more than a picture of Yosemite and your family standing there. It's more of a decoration and kind of a
flow with the body.
Something to wear than to something to hold dear.
Right, to remember.
Yeah, it's more of getting new fenders on your car or putting new rims on rather than than doing an upgrade, inside the engine that no one sees, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And here's a couple of styles that are popular that kind of fall. They're Frankensteins, which is like photorealistic or realistic tattooing, which is portraits and even I've seen increasingly animals done in that direction.
Yeah.
Wildlife, etc. And the solid black tattoos or black style. Of course, the fine line comes from like the Japanese tradition, wouldn't you say?
Fine line?
Or would you say the Japanese is the whole thing?
No, I think Japanese would probably be a whole genre unto itself. Japanese traditional tattooing is kind of its own thing. I mean, using needles strapped to a bamboo pole, you can only get so detailed.
So detailed.
Yeah, so they would work big. The Western idea was to get these little memento tattoos. The Japanese idea was you're going to be fucking tattooed.
Right.
So yeah, they didn't do a lot of small, tiny stuff. It was, you were either getting a body part or your torso, you were getting covered. So I definitely classify that into its own thing.
Genre.
And there are artists, American artists that's what they specialize in. They just concentrate on trying to reproduce or make their own niche out of that style, because it is kind of its own weird.
Samurais.
It's got a very well, even just the way it's done traditionally, the way they leave a gap between their colored pigment and their lines. The way they shade things, color things. They do it almost in a way. Like if it was done in any other art form, you go, that looks dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But it's.
Would you say like
very
screen printing?
beautiful.
Because that's also another Japanese thing.
Yeah.
Now that you've mentioned the separation of color, and I never really thought about that effect.
Yeah, it does kind of have almost a screen printed kind of feel to it. Yeah, that's not a bad. Yeah, I guess I never really drew that comparison either. But yeah, in a way, it's very. I don't want to say illustrated, but it's just a very black and white. The main. Subject matter is. Now that doesn't mean their backgrounds can't be beautiful, washed out black and gray things. But traditionally it was a lot of heavy black, heavy lines, not a whole lot of gradations and stuff. It was just slamming in and go.
And a definite use of negative space to show flow of the body that
Oh yeah.
I think Western tattooing has gained a lot by studying.
Oh yeah, and it's moving way that way now. You're seeing a lot more artists looking at the overall body as the canvas rather than that spot.
Yep.
Which is really neat. It's way neater when you're looking at the person naked standing there presenting their tattoo, because you get to appreciate it as an overall piece.
Mm-hmm.
You get it can be fun because you'll only get parts of it here and there.
Yeah.
But some of these pieces, man, parts of it could mean that from there to there is solid black, because that's the eyeball of the skull and the nose is down here, which is really kind of neat, but
man,
you're only going to appreciate that from time to time,
Yep.
Which brings in that site, I guess I consider it a style now, where you do this black shadow with the negative space being the actual design.
Yeah, and that's more, that's more kind of technique than a style. That's kind of a, I'd say that's more of a technique you could use in a tattoo, because you could use that and those negatives in any style of tattoo. It could be a traditional or anything, and you could do negatives in there.
And it seems like it's now these huge pieces.
Right,
It used to be
yeah.
You'd see it occasionally in smaller pieces, or even an hourglass around it, and give it kind of that, what are they called, where they used to wear the lockets around their necks.
Cameos,
that kind of cameo appearance.
Yeah.
And now it's turned into this, well, I'm going to have a flower here on my butt, and a stem going down my side, and the whole side of me is going to be covered in black.
Right, yeah. Well, and part of that is because the machines being able to push like a 35 mag, and you can fill in a lot with a really good, strong coil, rotary machine and a huge mag.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it makes these gigantic pieces that could have taken, weeks of hours of work to, they're covering full legs in a session or two day, in a 2-day session, they're covering entire bodies, practically. So, yeah, and that's because of, the modernization and the tools that we're able to use. It helps us.
And biomechanical and a lot of this, I think it comes down to, if you have an artist that's outside of tattooing, doesn't have to be somebody in tattooing, or a style, like maybe you're into comic books, maybe you're into, I don't know, carnival paintings, the banners. Usually most of those styles can be dictated or changed over into a tattoo fairly easily. Even the pixelated effect of like old school, someone just recently where they basically took a panel out of an old Batman, and even did it where it's pixeled out,
Right.
so it looks like
did
it's
all
per
the
page.
two-tone fucking
So like if you're looking for a specific style, of course look at tattoos, but also look outside of tattoos. Look at, is there an artist you like a lot? Maybe you like Escher. Maybe you're into that really dark stuff. Maybe you like some stuff from, some weird comic book that you picked up randomly. This is where these styles all came from in the first place.
He's trying to emulate.
And sometimes bringing in that piece of art from this particular artist and going, hey, I want it done like this, is going to trigger things in that little mind meld that is the collaboration of tattooing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying don't ask an artist, hey, it always sounds weird to me, like, can you do this? It's like going to a mechanic and saying, can you fix my car?
Yeah.
It's what I do. What else would you need me
Well,
to
it'd be like going to a pinstriping place in LA, East LA, and going, hey, can you guys do pinstriping?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of
without even looking at at his work.
That's
or,
kind of the way it sounds.
You know, that whole thing where you kind of look at the sign above.
But you know what?
Yeah?
That probably comes from, though, a lot of the clients going to other artists and going, hey, I want to get this. I'm like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Because they're those niche-y artists, and there's more and more and more of that now because the young kids growing up seeing tattooing, that's what they're seeing. Because that's what they're pushing is these niche-y guys that are doing all this stuff. They're like, oh, that's what I want to be.
Yep.
Plus, on top of that, usually when an artist refuses to do something, they're not comfortable doing it.
Right.
And you should never, it doesn't mean you have a dumb idea all the time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have
Sometimes you do.
dumb idea that just isn't going to work. But a lot of times when an artist is like, I don't feel comfortable doing that, or that's not I'm not the guy for you, find somebody else. It has more to do with them going, I don't know how the hell I'm going to pull that off, and I'd much rather have someone who
else
can, or not have this person get this mess that I would make of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the difference between a reputable tattoo artist and somebody that goes, oh yeah, I've never done that before, never done brain surgery, but I read up on it,
Seen it on TV.
It's comfortability with the particular techniques maybe involved with that tattoo is usually...
And longevity has a lot to do with that too. If someone's been doing it 3 years, and it's something that's kind of wacky and out of the box, chances are they've never done it or not done it very much. So they're going to be way less likely and maybe not do as good of a job, but they'll probably cut you a deal.
Again, check their portfolios and see if they have examples of what you're looking for. They have examples of that.
Yeah, and if you are going after a certain style, maybe look around at an artist that's going to match that style. If you're really not interested in necessarily the style, you want this image and you want it done great, and you want the artist to do it because you've seen their work in the way that they think that it's going to make that great, then let them handle it, and maybe don't get hung up so much on the style. But
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's really kind of what you're after. Some people wear tattoos because they want the tattoo. Some people wear the tattoo.
You and me, neither one of us have one particular style.
No.
It's definitely, you get a client that sits down, you kind of, if they don't, for me personally, if they don't have a style in mind, they just have an idea of what they want.
Mm-hmm.
If they leave it up to me, I will try to do my best to pick a style that I think is going to match them, that looks good, because I don't have one style. I have a few different things I like to focus on, and some things I want to be a little more flowery and floral, and other things I'm going to recommend this should be black and gray because it'll look cool as a black and gray piece.
Yeah. So. And at the end of the day, it's up to the person to choose, and some leave it up to us more than others, and that's on the client, I suppose. But and I do the same thing. If someone comes to me and says, they're really stuck on a style or whatever, and they want something, it looks good in that style, but it could look super dope in another style. Mm-hmm. Then I might say, do you really dig the style? Are you open to the style? Do you like just the image, or what's really grabbing you about this? And if they're like, well, I just like this, I'm like, wow, if we did this, it would give us the ability to do that, or does that sound cool? I'm like, oh yeah, that could be great.
I think that's a benefit of not finding one of these, as you said, pigeonholed artists, or artists who focus on one style primarily. Mm-hmm. Nothing against them, but that somebody with a little bit more versatility can help make your piece a little bit more versatile to what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to run into a couple well-known artists years and years and years and years ago when I was first kind of in my first 5 years or so, and that they basically said they regretted pigeonholing themselves. They regretted being the guy, and the guy is all they fucking do.
Yeah.
And once you're that guy, how do you stop being that guy? You can't put out an APB and say, hey, I'm not that guy anymore, so don't ask me for those anymore. I want to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Too fucking bad, dude. Mm-hmm. I want one of those, and you're that guy. Mm-hmm. You want to pay it or not?
Mm-hmm. I've been saving up for 10 years, and I traveled halfway across the country to have that neo-tribal back piece done on me, because you're the guy that invented it.
Yeah, so I've fought, I've been conscious of that my whole career, because people come to me and say, oh, you're the portrait guy, you're the black and gray guy, you're the... No, I love doing that stuff, it's fun, but I love doing tattooing, period. I don't like to do skulls. I don't like to do sleeves of this. I like to tattoo, really, honestly. from the bottom of my heart. It didn't matter. If I'm tattooing, it's fine by me. So, and that's what's kept it fun for me. I don't come in and do the same fucking tattoo every day, every week, every year of my life, like a lot of these guys that have been doing it for a long time, and that's all they can do, really, because they're that guy. So,
you've been listening to Q&A in the Kitchen Podcast Edition, brought to you in part by Skin Kitchen Tattoo, the Axiom Body Piercing Studio in Death Before Decaf. If you enjoyed this, you can watch our video version on YouTube. We post them every other Sunday, and then we post the podcast edition on here. If you would like more information on DaVo, Jack, or Wesley, or Skin Kitchen Tattoo, the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, or Death Before Decaf, please check out the description of this podcast. So, till next time, have a good day, and good luck with your piercings and your tattoos. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we hope to see you for those tattooing and body piercing needs.